Middle-aged dogs. That's what we're going to talk about today. They are past their puppyhood, but they're before their geriatric, and they're in kind of a great age range of what we can expect. We know what to expect because of their age. So we're going to talk about how to fine-tune your appointments with your clients and how to get them right in that area where it makes sense for them and their lifestyle. We're also going to talk about when you get a new dog to you, when it's new and it's not the dog that you have trained and it's come from somewhere else, a different location, a different state, whatever, and how to work with them. And then finally, we're going to talk about how you deal with, once you've got them all figured out and they're in the sweet spot, how to manage that. That's where we're going to go. When you have that dog already through your puppy training and you've built somewhat of a relationship, they've gotten through their puppy coat change, it's really a great time because now we know what the texture is like on their coat. They've got some muscle, they've got some size, they've got their body filling out. So you definitely have a better, clearer idea of what you can and cannot do with their coat. We also now start the conversation with the clients about what their goals are. What is their lifestyle like? We want to make sure we are an asset to them by helping them figure out through trial and error what is the best hairstyle for their lifestyle, for their dog, its coat, how quickly it grows, the problems that it may be facing because of their lifestyle, and how to avoid those. So it's our position to help them out. So we reach out our hand and we say, okay, this is what we can do. You're a client that likes to hike. So we're not going to put a ton of coat on those legs because that is just going to bring back everything that you went out in nature and played in. So we're going to be realistic. If mom loves to do active things, but she loves lots of hair, then we give them lots of options. And we talk about, okay, if you want to have a really flashy, flared up dog, then we have to see them more often. We need you to be doing more at home and participating in the care of that coat to prevent it from being matted. Because the last thing we want to do for these dogs that have now come into adulthood is to teach them that every time they come and hit your table, that it's going to suck, that it's going to be terrible, and it's going to be painful. So we need to make sure we're avoiding those pitfalls by setting them up with the right information. Educate them on how to maintain their dogs at home. We already gave them tools when they were puppies, so they're helping us hopefully. Now we're doing the style figure out. What kind of hairstyle do they like? Do they want to do some work at home? A lot of people really find it therapeutic to brush their dogs. And that's a huge help to us because their dog is familiar with it, it enjoys it, and it comes in better shape. Those clients are going to get more options. They get to have a longer coat. They get to have more style and more flash and more flair because those clients are participating on a regular basis. The clients that don't want to put a lot of time and energy into coat, that's fine. We understand that. We want to make sure that we put your dog in a hairstyle that's going to work for you. If you like the dog long and fluffy, but you're not willing to participate, we're not giving you long and fluffy. We're going to find a pattern or a length that works just right, or we're going to let you have long and fluffy, but you're going to be in here all the time to make sure that we are not torturing your dog every time it comes in. Because every time they have a negative experience, it builds that mental stress. So there's a lot of talking during this time of making sure that they understand, well, you know, we're dealing with ears every single time she comes in. We might want to reconsider and maybe get some more practical length on those ears, or let's find a way to make sure that you understand how to brush and comb them out so that we're not having to hurt her every single time she comes in. Because every visit that you have now, from the time that you've developed that bond with them as a puppy, now we're going into the phase of, I don't want to hurt you every time you come in because mom didn't want to brush you out. I don't want to hurt you every time because they're waiting super long in between their appointments. And now every time you come in, you see it as torture. We don't want that. We want them to know what to expect from us because we've already taught them. And we want to deliver a positive experience every time so that each time it's no big deal. We're just maintaining and keeping them where everybody wins. So that is your job, to make sure that you have given them all the tools. Make sure you go over what to expect, how often this dog is going to grow and what you see with them, and the problem areas that you're struggling with every time. So if they're coming in and every time their backside is super tangled up, and you go, I really need you to focus this time on this. Or how about we have you come in 1 week earlier so that we can try and figure out where that spot is going to fall for your dog and its coat and what you do with it. If you have a doodle that you like to hike with and you live in an area that it's going to really create issues in that coat and they're going to bring back all sorts of junk in their hair, maybe you want to put them in a more practical length so that they're not set up for failure. And if the owner is not on board, that's our job to make sure that they understand what the consequences are going to be. We're not torturing your dog every time. If every time your dog comes in, it has a bad experience, they will then start to change their behavior and it will be in a negative way. And we don't want to create that relationship. We want to create a great relationship. So if every time you're noticing the same problem areas, that's when we address those and we talk to mom and dad and say, okay, you're putting a harness on your dog. Harnesses create friction. Where friction is, it creates mats and it breaks coat. So we really recommend that you don't use a harness. Train your dog not to pull so that you don't have that issue. If you're not going to train your dog and you are going to use that harness, then let's make sure we modify the style so that it makes sense for your dog. Let's get rid of the hair where the harness hits so that we are not going to have a recurring problem every single time they come in. Being smart and preparing for that next haircut and making sure that you are taking care of the problem areas. If it's a dog that has a profuse amount of oil in its coat and it's just super greasy and grimy in certain areas, get rid of them. Make sure that you're not leaving too much coat to create problems for the next time. And it's all about giving those options to mom and dad and letting them know that they can decide. It's not your dog. It isn't up to you. It's really up to them. Some people they have big aspirations and then they become very realistic once they start doing it and see how difficult it can be. Other people really love the challenge and they enjoy it and they take it both hands and say, okay, let's do this. And they do great. So you have to figure that out by communicating. You've got to talk to them and really figure it out. You have to give them feedback every time. If there are problem areas on the dog, let's set them up for success and make sure that we are helping them figure out how to fix those problems. If they wear a harness, let them know how bad that is for the coat, that it's going to break hair, that it's going to cause friction mats. And we don't want to do that. They need to train their dog so that it doesn't have to be on a harness. If they aren't going to train their dog and it's going to be on a harness, then let's be realistic and let's cut the body short where the harness hits so that we're not perpetuating the problem. If they like a big head and big cheeks, but they are constantly matted underneath those ears, you know what? We're going to get rid of all that hair underneath there. And yeah, your look is going to change slightly, but we're going to eliminate the problem area. If it's a dog that has serious matting on its rear end where it sits a lot, then there's lots of options we can give them and say, okay, well, let's take it a little shorter here, a little bit longer there, and it still give you some style, but we're going to eliminate the problem. Doing a modified Schnauzer leg on almost every breed is a super easy solution to getting rid of rear end mats with still keeping length on the leg and keeping it cute and stylish. And owners don't know that's an option unless you tell them. So give them their options. Let them know, hey, I'm noticing that underneath your dog is super tangled. Well, that skin is more sensitive than other parts of the body. It's not exposed to the sun. It's not brushed as often. It's not dealing with the same conditions as the top part. So therefore, how about we be realistic? Let's do a false skirt on your dog. Let's eliminate the problem in a very humane way, but you're not going to necessarily see it, so you don't lose the look that you like, but we eliminate the problem. So we have lots of options for them, and we need to educate them on that they can ask for something different, or we can give them that as an option and say, man, how about we try this? And that might fix that. So you get them to make educated, realistic decisions and work your way through it. Let them know that it's hair, it's going to grow back. If you hate this style, we can always change it next time, or we can always grow that area back. We definitely can work with them so they don't feel like they have to do the same thing every single time, or maybe they're a person that thrives on having routine and they like it the same every single time. Okay, if that's what you want, then we're going to make sure we put you on a schedule that keeps you maintained without having to start over every visit because you went too long in between, or you didn't brush out, or any of those. So let's make sure we give them that information so they can make good, educated, realistic decisions for that adult dog and its future. Next, we're talking about new dogs. If you did not train this dog and an owner calls and they say, I got a dog and I just moved to the area and it's 4 years old and da 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 da, and he's been groomed his whole life and I just need a haircut. You go, okay. Very first thing you need to do is make sure you get information. When you take that appointment over the phone, make sure you're asking all of those appropriate questions so that you're prepared for setting up that appointment where you have time to deal with whatever is you're anticipating is going to walk through the door. Then you're going to make sure that when they get in, either on the phone or when they come in for that appointment, you make sure you discuss with them what was this dog's history like. If it's a new to them dog and you don't have any history, that tells you something. If they're a rescue and they were a breeding dog or they know something from what the rescue told them, any bit of information you can gather is going to help you make decisions for this dog. If it is a dog that is familiar with grooming, then you're going to have a level of expectation from that dog. You're going to expect that that dog is going to behave on the table like it's been groomed its whole life. Every grooming table is different. We all know this. We all tell everybody every table is different. So it's never going to be the same. And when that dog comes to you as an adult that's used to being groomed, it's coming to a new place with a new person and it's going to be figuring it out. So you're going to have some patience and some understanding. If you have good history from the client, that's super, super helpful for you to be able to understand what to expect. That the last groomer told them, the dog hated its nails done or whatever it was. Or my dog really is sensitive and you have to be really careful. There's key words that they're going to give you that are going to really help you make those decisions. And if you're paying attention, you're going to make the right choices for that dog, or at least be cautious in your decisions so that you make sure you don't set yourself up for failure by rushing them too quickly or using products or equipment on them inappropriately because you've gotten that information from them. So make sure you gather that information if it's there. If it isn't, then you always err on the side of caution and make sure you are assuming the dog is sensitive and assume that it's probably not had the best experiences. And if you go slowly and build up on that, you're going to have a more successful appointment. You also, at this time, are going to take this opportunity to teach this dog what are the rules in your salon, what are the rules on your table. So it's your job to teach them now what's okay. Some dogs come in and it's such a dream when they walk in and they obviously are comfortable being bathed and dried and worked on. It's fantastic. That isn't the case most of the time. We typically have to do some form of retraining, even just explaining to them what it's like here. On my table, these are my rules. You are not allowed to do this, but that's a good boy or that's a good girl if you do that. And so we're going to teach them what to expect from us. I typically will make sure that I start out real gentle and I give them the opportunity to behave for me. If they take that, awesome, then we don't have an issue. If they don't, then I have to then up the ante and I have to go a little bit more firm and explain to them, no, that's not okay. You cannot do that, not here. You might have gotten away with it somewhere else, but on my table, that's not okay. So we all have different rules. So you're going to have to teach those rules. And you want to start out with giving them the option of giving it to you first and err on that side of hopefully they're going to make the right choice, not assuming that they're automatically going to be bad. If they give you bad behavior, then you address it and you have to teach them what's okay and get them on board, because a lot of them you have to rehabilitate to your rules and how you handle things. If your rules are they're not allowed to bite at you or bite at the equipment, then those are your rules. So you have to make it clear to them so they understand. If they're trying to jump out of the tub the whole time, you're not allowing that, then you say, no, we're not doing that. Somewhere else it may have been okay and they just chase the dog around the tub, but in your salon it's different. So you have to teach them what is appropriate and what is not. That's our job. If they don't understand the rules, they can't follow them. So we have to make sure they understand them. So make sure you are taking that time to ease them into what your salon rules are and how you operate. Move slowly, be patient, be kind, be encouraging, and be firm. Make sure they understand they're not going to get away with it if they push you. And they do push us. They're going to test their limits. They don't know us, and that's just what it is. So be clear, be consistent. Make sure you're being consistent every single time. Do your table routine, your tub routine, your drying routine the same every single time. And within a few visits, they usually figure it out pretty quickly because you do it the same every time. And they go, oh, okay, now I know what's next. It's super helpful in maintaining those guys and teaching a new one to you that it's going to be okay. And okay, they've got it. Make sure you're confident in doing it the same every time. They will feed off that confidence and trust you, and it's going to be fine. Some push harder than others, But you make sure that you are consistent and you just stay firm. Nope, these are the rules. Once you've gotten them through that bathing and you've got them out on the table, you again are going to make sure they understand these are my rules on my table. I'm going to give you the opportunity to obey and give me what I want because I know you're familiar with it. But I'm not going to expect the moon here. I'm not going to expect that you're not going to give me some kind of an argument because we're new. You don't know me. You don't trust me yet. So we're going to build on that. And I'm going to encourage you to give me what I want. And I'm going to reward you when you do. But I'm not going to let you win if you don't. Because you're going to understand that maybe the last groomer you had was a bit of a pushover and she'd let you get away with more than I will. So I'm going to make sure you understand that's not going to happen here. I'm going to be clear so you understand, and I'm going to reward you the moment you give it to me. And then you're going to learn real quick how it works on my table. And they do. They adapt very, very quickly, and you really don't have to struggle too hard most of the time. If it's a dog that isn't familiar with grooming, then you have a whole different story. Then it's more about rehabilitating that dog. And you're going to now hopefully get that owner, maybe it's a new owner to that dog, and you're going to get them on board with making sure that they are following a routine, they're getting on a schedule, and we are building that trust and that relationship with that dog so that they settle in and the stress goes down, and now we can give them the haircut that they want safely and easily, or start the discussion of those haircuts and what their goals are. When we have these people hip hopping around from shop to shop, it gets very difficult. So they don't understand that if they weren't happy there and they decided not to try to work with that groomer and they hop to the next one, they have to start over every single time, and the dog has to start over every single time. So we really try to encourage them to work with us. So as that new client comes in, make sure to tell them, look, if there's anything you don't like, make sure you tell me next time so we can fix it. We can fix just about anything, so let's talk about it, but I can't fix what I don't know. So make sure we have that open relationship where they feel like they can approach you and let you know if it's not exactly what they wanted or what they were expecting. So make sure you're clear with that. We want that communication always open so they understand. A lot of times groomers do not give feedback that is negative. They are scared and living in fear that if they tell someone, I had an issue with your dog, that they are going to run for the hills and jump ship and go to the next salon. So they are scared of losing that money, so they don't give that information and they lie flat out. Your dog did great. It was fantastic. And then when the client goes to a new salon because they've moved to a new area, and that groomer goes, holy moly, your dog just tried to destroy me over its nails. Did your groomer not ever tell you that? And they go, no, they never did. They're going to think that the new groomer is a liar, or they're going to think you were a liar because you didn't tell them. And that's not what we want. We want to have clear, open communication. There's got to be some trust and some realism there that they understand. Look, this isn't perfect. Dogs are not perfect, but there are ways of fixing these things. So we don't give you a problem without giving you solutions. So we're going to make sure we hand you some solutions for these issues, but we are going to be honest with you and let you know that your dog is not standing like a perfect stuffed animal, because they don't. So make sure you give them all of that information so that it helps that dog on its journey wherever it may go, so that the next groomer isn't having to reinvent the wheel with them and start from scratch and try to convince them that they're not a liar because they're honest and you weren't honest. So make sure you're being honest with them, but don't give them problems without solutions. Make sure you're giving them opportunities. Hey, your dog doesn't like its nails done, but here's some things you can try at home that are going to help make it better so that they can work on that. Then we're going to talk about how, now that you've gotten them all trained, you've gotten it all figured out, you've got the client where they are on their haircut, and you're in your sweet spot. When you're in your sweet spot, it's the best. You know exactly what that dog's going to be like because you've done it so often and it's on a schedule, so you know exactly what to expect. Those are fun, they're awesome, and they are super de-stressing because you know what to anticipate, just like the dog. You know what's coming, so therefore you're prepared for it mentally, and you know it's great. Or if it's a dog that's always been difficult, then you know it's always been difficult and it's not stressful because you're ready for it. Mentally, that's a big deal. We have to always be prepared for what's coming in. That's why it's so important to gather information. When we have that information, we know what we're expecting, the stress goes down because we're prepared for it. And when you're prepared, you're going to be successful. So those dogs that have come in regular and they're on a schedule, whatever schedule that might be, those clients are the ones that are your bread and butter. You appreciate them, you have great relationship with their dog, or at least you know the dog, so you are prepared for that appointment. When those clients are coming in and it's just same old, same old, same old, you have a couple of options with these guys. Number one, you can always encourage them to change styles. You can, if you're doing continuing education, which is the key to success in my opinion, there's always something new out there you can try. Sometimes it's a matter of little things where it's just subtle things that we could add into an already normal grooming. Sometimes it's a bigger deal. Would you like a little color added into your dog? Could we try something new? I saw a new style and it was, oh my gosh, I just know your dog would look so great in it. A lot of times that can be a super helpful tool in your marketing when you have a client that comes to you regular, already has a great relationship with you, and they trust you. So they're open-minded to allowing you to maybe play a little bit and be creative and take a hairstyle that they have just done the same way over and over and over and make it fresh and new. And that helps you stay encouraged in your profession because it's not always the same. And it also gives them something new to be excited about. And hopefully it makes their dog look even better. And it's a great business card walking down the street where they go, oh my gosh, your dog looks great. And you go, yep, we tried something new and it was great. Or maybe it is adding in some of those creative elements that you haven't done in the past, but now the client maybe is getting bored with the style and they don't realize that, hey, we can switch lanes mid-highway. No problem. You want to try something new? How about you give them that option? Tell them it is an option. So many people just stay in their lane and they don't even think about it. Tell them to look around. Say, hey, you know, if there's something you see out there, you let me know. I'd be happy to try something different for you. And you'd be amazed at how many people go, I just never even thought that I could do that. Nobody's ever told me I had options and I could do something different. And it can be super fun for them. Sometimes as people, as we all do, as we get older, we change how we feel about things. And maybe we wanted it a certain way for a long time and didn't realize that, man, if I just tweak that a little bit, it might look brand new and totally different. My favorite, right, and you know, for the last several years, and I'm sure all of us feel the same. Shaved ears, they're awesome. We love them. On your little Maltese, on your Shih Tzus. They are so adorable and they solve so many issues. Ears are the bane of my existence. They are the hardest thing to get even with all these different ear sets, and we just all struggle with something. That's mine. So we want to make sure that we give them trends. There's trends. How about, hey, let's do something cute. Throw a little bling somewhere and do something fun. So keep it fresh. This also is the time when you have these years of doing these dogs that you know so well that you really pay attention to when you start noticing signs of things being different. So you're preparing for when they become a senior. So if you notice anything, this is when we know those dogs inside and out and we start mentioning, I'm noticing this, or I'm noticing, you know, the weight gain happens and all of a sudden the dog is plumping out and we're noticing that they're struggling. Or if you've noticed that a dog has maybe some weak knees and they have some knee issues and maybe some luxating patellas, it's when we mention to them that they really need to start being careful about weight because it's going to start affecting them as they get older and their joints start to change. So we want to make sure that we're helping them be prepared for each stage. So when they come in from a puppyhood, we're preparing them for middle age. When they come in for middle age, we're preparing them for seniorhood, so that each time as they progress, the client has built a level of trust with you, a level of understanding, and you've educated them and helped prepare them for each part of their journey in their life. And it's a huge opportunity for us to be an asset to their family and help them and be a tool for them, where the vet doesn't see them as much as we do. We see them all the time. We know them very well. So make sure you're sharing that with them. Make sure you're paying attention to those things and helping them, because we want them to know how much we care. And we do. It's important. We can save their lives. So many of us over the years have saved dogs' lives because we've noticed something and mentioned it, and they've gone and gotten it taken care of based on our advice. And that is, I think that's such an honor that we can participate in that way and be helpful and be a tool to help that dog. So take it seriously. Use this time to maybe be creative and practice a little bit more and get your clients on board with trying new things and doing different things and enjoy it. Because this is, to me, this is the sweetest time, is that middle age range where they already know what to do. They've got great hair, they've got, great health, and we can do a whole lot of fun, awesome things. So take this opportunity, run with it, get your clients on board, have fun, enjoy this, because this is the fun time. I want to thank you so much for your time today. I'm Liz Scissors, and this is Splitting Hairs.